Fatin, are you there? Kanagis and Achen are here, but I'm still waiting for you. Thank you. You're here, just text me, please. Thank you. can the debating teams, can you please write down the names of those who are playing the roles of first draft, second draft, third draft, and then your reply speech is going to be given by whom in the chat box, please, and so goes for the opposition team as well. Thank you. Please do let us know if you can hear the bell.
Yeah, we can.
Yeah.
Can you hear?
No, cannot hear, Alok.
Oh,
Yes, we can hear.
Oh, because I cannot hear.
Huh? Again, again.
We didn't hear anything.
Which school is the opposition? AAB, is it?
What?
Who is the opposition? AAB or TLD?
AAB.
AAB.
Yes.
Opposition, huh?
Yes.
AAB Sabak Bernam. And TLD Kuala Langat, is it?
Yes.
Okay, thank you. Government. Second speaker. First speaker siapa? Third speaker for you. First speaker, please. Kwan Lo and Kwan Nora, right? And the opposition team is from AAB Sabak Bernam, whereby Nurul Izzah, Putra Muhammad Aizat, and Aisha are the three debaters. And from the government side, there'll be Fatin Azni, Abdul Qayyum, and Gopika, who will be speaking on behalf of TLD KL. Okay, without much ado, I will now invite the first speaker from the government to present her case. Thank you.
Am I audible?
Yes, you are.
Okay. I'm starting in 3, 2, 1. Thank you, Madam Speaker. A very good afternoon. I would like to wish to the honorable educators, precise timekeepers, fellow members of the government, members of the opposition, and members of the floor. We are gathered here today to debate on a very important motion, that is, this House would mandate adult children to live with their parents to combat loneliness and social isolation among the elderly population. And we, the government, strongly back this motion. To address this motion, please allow me to start off by specifying my role and the role of my fellow members of the government. I, as the Prime Minister, have the main task in hand, which I have to state the motion, which I have already done earlier. Next, I will highlight some of the keywords and define the motion of today's debate. Following this, I will present the first point of the government in order to support our stand. The role of my deputy here is to rebut the points given by the opposition leader, and she will go on to present two additional new points that will further support the government's stand. Finally, the third speaker of the government has the task as the whip of the government to rebut all the points given and put forward by the opposition. Now, ladies and gentlemen, allow me to point out some keywords that we, the government, find to the government in order to support our stand. The government defines mandate as the power that is officially given to a group of people to do something, especially after they have won an election. We define adult, person or an animal that is fully grown. Define children as a young boy or girl who is not yet an adult. We define leave to have your home in a particular place. We define parent, a person's mother or father. We define combat, to fight against something, to try to stop or defeat something. We define loneliness as unhappy because you are not with other people. We define social as connected with society and the way it's organized. We define isolation as the state of being separate and alone, the act of separating somebody or something. We define among as in or concerning a particular group of people or things. And we define elderly as old people in general. And lastly, we define population as the number of people who live in a particular area, city, or country. Now, I'll move on to my first case, which is enhancing intergenerational bonds. By mandating adult children to live with their parents can help strengthen the bond between different generations within a family. It provides an opportunity for adult children and their elderly parents to spend quality time together, share experiences, and provide support to each other. Next, alleviating loneliness and social isolation. Many elderly people experience loneliness and social isolations due to factors like loss of mobility, the passing of their spouse, or living alone. Having adult children with them can provide companionship, emotional support, and a sense of belonging, reducing the feelings of isolation and improving their overall being. Next, moving on to my second case, which is sharing responsibilities. Living with their adult children can help distribute household responsibilities between generations. The elderly may need assistance with their daily chores, healthcare, or transportation. Having adult children present uh, can help to ensure the overall well-being and safety of their parents, such as like if their if their adults are sick and can't really move much, they can help them by driving them to the clinic or the hospital. With that, I end my case.
How many minutes is that?
4 minutes 34 seconds.
Thank you. Thank you, Fatin. We now call upon the second debater from the opposition to come forth with their case. With that, I welcome Nuruliza. Thank you.
Okay. I'll start my speech in 3, 2, 1. Thank you, IB, to the Mrs. Speaker. Assalamualaikum and a very good evening, IB, to Honorable Nine of the Educators, the Create Timekeeper, my intellectual speaker from the opposition team, and not forgotten to all members in this parliament here. Before I proceed with my responsibility in this parliament here, I would like to introduce myself. My name is Nur Izzah, and I feel greatly honored to hold the responsibility as the second speaker from the opposition team, and I will ensure that my team will win in this parliament today by making sure that today's debate motion and
I'm sorry, we can't hear you.
I'm sorry. I will ensure that my team will win this parliament today by making sure that today's debate motion entitled "This House Would Mandate Adult Children to Live with Their Parents to Combat Loneliness and Social Isolation Among the Elderly Population" to be 100% rejected. As a matter of fact, we believe in contrast, which is this house would not mandate adult children to live with their parents to combat loneliness and social isolation among the elderly population. Ladies and gentlemen, based on today's debate motion, I will give the literal definition and conceptual definition of this motion. As for the literal definition of this motion, mandate means the power that's officially given to a group of people to do something, especially after they have won an election. Adult means a parent that is fully grown. A person that is fully grown. Children means a young boy or girl who is not yet an adult. Combat is to fight against something or to try to stop or defeat something. Loneliness means unhappy because you are not with other people. Social isolation means connected with society and the way it is organized and the state of being separate and alone. The act of separating. Elderly used about a person that is old. Ladies and gentlemen, now we'll rebut the first argument given by the government's delegation. As mentioned by the Prime Minister from the government delegation, she mentioned that adult children live with parents could strengthen the bond between generation and they could spend time together and to support each other. And it could also can provide emotional support. Without further ado, let me rebut their first argument. So firstly, it doesn't combat loneliness even if the adult children live with their parents, since the children have their own responsibilities and combating loneliness isn't an obligation for the children towards the parents. That's all for my rebuttal. Ladies and gentlemen, now I will enlighten you about our case line, which is this house would not mandate adult children with their parents as it would deprive human rights. Now I'm going to introduce my role as the first speaker from the opposition team. I've done several tasks which are refuting the government's, rebutting the first argument given by the government delegation and also specifying our stand as well as stating our case line. Next, I will further specify the role of second and third speakers from the opposition team, elaborate about the first argument from opposition team, and lastly, I will reaffirm the case. Now I'm going to introduce the role of my supportive speaker. my intellectual speaker here will do several tasks, which are rebutting all three arguments given by the government's delegation, elaborate about the second and third arguments from from our team, and lastly, he will read from the case. As a third speaker from the opposition team, my intellectual minister here will do several tasks, which are rebutting the third minister from the government delegation, rebutting all three arguments given by the government delegation, and lastly, she will read from the case. Ladies and gentlemen, based on today's debate motion, I will indicate our first argument. Our first argument is staying with parents would restrict freedom. Without further ado, let me justify our
POI.
first. Yes.
You mentioned that having responsibilities doesn't mean that they feel lonely, but having responsibilities doesn't feel loneliness. Wait, so you're saying that having responsibilities that make you doesn't feel lonely?
No, I didn't mention that. Actually, I mentioned that it doesn't combat loneliness because the adult children itself have their own responsibilities. I'm sorry, maybe you misheard or something. So, without further ado, let me justify our first argument. We state freedom. Adult children also have their own responsibilities and their own privacy life, and they don't have a free life to live in if they live with their parents. And also, social isolation won't happen when the kids could just visit them. Even if they live far away, they could just visit them. Okay, and it would hinder human rights to move freely. And even if you live far away from your parents, you could use technology like video call or something. So why would parents feel lonely about this? And the adult children would feel shackled living with their parents. Last, don't parents already experience or at least be mature about it? Maybe you can answer the question after this. Now it's time for me to read from our case. Firstly, I will recap our first argument, which is living with parents could restrict freedom. And lastly, I will restate our case line, which is this house would not mandate adult children with their parents as it would deprive human rights. In conclusion, we believe that today's debate motion should be 100% rejected. I raise my case and back to oppose. Thank you.
Okay,
Thank you, Iza.
time is 6 minutes 39 seconds.
6 minutes, 39 seconds. All right. Thank you, Iza. Shall continue with the second speaker from the government, Abdul Koyum. You may start. Thank you.
Am I audible?
Yes, you are.
Okay. I will start in 3, 2, 1. Thank you. Thank you to the first speaker of the opposition. Good evening. I would like to wish to the honorable educators, precise timekeepers, fellow member of the government, member of the opposition, and member of the floor. Today we are gathered here to discuss on an interesting motion that is this house would mandate adult children. This house would mandate adult children. This house would mandate adult children to live with their parents to combat loneliness and social isolation among the elderly population. And we, as the government, strongly back with this motion. And I, Abdul Koyum, as the second speaker of the government, will be rebutting a misleading point that is stated by the first speaker of the opposition, and will be introducing 3 new points. Okay, so moving on to our rebut session. So as stated from the first speaker of the government, of the opposition, sorry, staying with parents will restrict freedom. Adult children are already mature enough to live with their own life, and I'm not saying that they should live alone. No, they can already make a wise decision on their own without any parental advice. And second, um, uh, ladies and gentlemen, stated by the first speaker of the opposition, uh, the child of the parent can just visit them. But if there is no transportation, how can the child visit them? And also stated by the first opposition, they can just video call or just communicate using a device.
Yeah,
But what if there is no? Yes.
You're saying that if there are no transportation, how could they visit them? But how about the public transportation like bus or taxi or Grab? They could just use money to, to just visit their parents. Thank you.
It takes a lot of money and it takes a lot of times for public transportation to arrive to the designated destination. Continuing to my rebut session. So if there again I recap. As stated by the first opposition or the first speaker of the opposition, you can just use a device to communicate with them. But what if there is no connection of internet? How will they communicate with them? So moving on to my first point, which, ladies and gentlemen, when an adult is living with their parents, it gives you more time to figure out what you want to do with your life. This can benefit you in terms of improving the bonds of the parents and the child, thus enhancing the relationship with their family. Adult children can learn how to form a family. My second point for this motion, that is, living with your parents as an adult can save a big chunk of money. For example, electricity bill, food costs, utility, healthcare costs, etc. This is a major benefit for both the parent and the child, because in the future the child can use their saving to invest in the future for businesses. They can also use the money they save to buy properties in the future, such as lands, house, and etc. And my last point for this motion, that is, living with your parents as an adult can provide adult children with the opportunity to learn traditional skills, cultural values, and important life lessons passed down through generation. This can help preserve and celebrate cultural heritage while strengthening familial, for example, superstition, tradition, and cultural heritage, etc. That is all. I raise my case here, and we as the government strongly strongly back with this motion. Thank you.
Uh, 4 minutes, 50 seconds.
50.
Yes, 4.50.
50. Okay. I now call upon the second debater from the opposition to present his case. Thank you. You can start.
Wait, my voice is clear, is it?
Yeah, it is very clear.
Okay, in 3, 2, 1. So today's debate, we don't want to see who are friendly speak English, but we want to see who are brilliant to carry on the motion for today. So thank you, IB, to the speaker of the hall. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh, and good evening, IB, to everyone in this parliament today. Before I proceed with my responsibilities in the parliament today, I would like to introduce myself. I am Putra Muhammad Aizat bin Izzah, frequently honored to hold the responsibility as the second speaker from the opposition team, would ensure that my team opposition will win in this parliament today by making sure that today debate motion entitled is how would mandate adult children to live with their parents to combat loneliness and social isolation among the elderly population to be 100% rejected. So, ladies and gentlemen, now I will rebut the third argument given by government delegation. As mentioned by the government representative, the third argument of this is mentioned is this how would mandate adult children to live with their parents to combat loneliness and social isolation among the elderly population. Without further ado, let me rebut their third argument. In this argument, they said when you stay here your family, you can learn the traditional. You can learn that traditional from the family, which is this the art, which is the third argument is doesn't make sense with the other mention for today, because this is very doesn't have connection with our motion for today. So the government for today is doesn't understand what mission one for today. So I will go to rebut the second argument, which is with together family. To stay with together family, we can plan what we to do in life, which is when we stay with he say when you stay in your family with your parents, you can save your money because your parents can help you, like your shelters, your foodie, your electric. So your foodie and energy, electric, and you can save your money for buy your house for next moment. And these means when you can abandon your parents and you leave your parents in home, which is this argument that you guys agree with the opposition, which is you want to mandate adult children, not mandate to adult children to stay with their parents because they plan to leave their parents, which is they abandon the family and save the money and then buy the house, and then they abandon the parents and leave the parent in this house. So which is the argument, which is agree with the opposition for today. So then you have no responsibility at all, and children won't be independent. So the second argument that then my first start, which is to rebut your argument, and then I go to my second task, which is show to you guys what opposition argument.
DOI.
Yes, miss.
We're not saying that we can buy a house for ourselves, but instead we're saying that we can buy it for like our parents and ourselves, but in their like we're sharing house. So basically in their house, like we're together, not for like our house or ourselves, for like our furniture ourselves.
When you stay in house, you abandon your parents because you want your parents needs to buy a food, and then what you help your parents, is it in your house? So when you buy help, so when I don't know, I think government today doesn't know what the motion wants today. So I will continue my work, which is argument second. Second argument in this point is restitution independent for adult children. Every parent loves their children. They would want the best for the children and have them become independent. However, when the children live with their parents, their independence will like go unused for the most part. As example, when their children live with their parents, they will feel like their parents can help them and scope of life with like food and shelter, electrics, and so on. But what if something terrible happened to their parents, like accidents or worst cases, that the children will be left alone and have no idea how to be fully independent because they have been used to their parents covering for them. So not just that, their children will face about related problem like paying tax, loans, and things related to it. Thus, living with their parents as adults would cause the children independence to go mostly unused and makes them foreign and responsibility. So then my second argument, we go to no sir, thank you later. This third argument, which is burden both parties. In any cases, no sir. In this argument, which is burden both parties, when we grow up, we have a lot of a responsibility. We experience change constantly in our life, which is children will grow up and as an adult and will eventually have their own responsibility. They need to learn to take care of their business as well. So, for example, children that need to drive 2 kilometers and house far away to get their workplace every working day. Since it is how mandatory for them to live with their parents, they need to drive house back and forth for 5 days per week. And this will impact greatly on their child's course, as they will spend more money and time on roads since they have to accompany their parents, and costs like touch and go top up, petrol, air, and so much more. And conclusion in this argument, not only the children will feel burdened as they don't own privacy and they feel restricted in social life, their parents will also have to spend lots of energy as they have to cook food or pay for bills, even that they are old age, and it's time to rest because your mother wants to rest. You are so tired. So done my third argument. So I will reform and summarize what argument come from opposition. The first argument, which is a human first argument, which is restriction of freedom, when all people have their human right, which is when you break the human's right, you break the power of children to go anywhere. And second, which is restriction independent for adult children. And thirdly and lastly, burdening both parties. And then our case line and done my work. So and today this opposition want to see this how would not mandate adult children with their parents, as it would deprive human rights. And then for today, I hope this motion is rejected 100%. Thank you.
Timing
Thank you.
7 minutes 42 seconds.
7:42. Thank you, Putra. We will now hear the third government to come forth and present a case. I present to you Gopika. You can
Hello,
start.
am I audible?
Yes, you are.
Okay, thank you. I will be starting 1, 2, 3. Thank you, Madam Speaker. A very good afternoon I would like to wish to the honorable adjudicators, precise timekeepers, fellow members of the government, members of the opposition, and members of the floor. We are gathered here today to debate on a very important motion. That is, this House would mandate adult children to live with their parents to combat loneliness and social isolation among the elderly population. And we, the government team, strongly agree with this motion. I, the third speaker of the government team, will be rebutting the opposition team's points and will be rebuilding the government team's cases. The first speaker of the opposition team has stated that when you live with your parents, you don't have a free life. We, the government, disagree with this. You could still have a free life by living with your parents by creating boundaries with them. Creating boundaries would set a line on between where your parents can interfere with your life and where they can't. Of course, they've been teenagers too, so they would understand how it feels to not have a free life. Other than that, the first speaker had also stated that you can't visit them even if you're far away, which I don't agree with because it assumes time. What if you're busy? Why don't you just come home and see them every day rather than using the public transportation, which is wasting time and consuming your money? How about you just live with them, as you can go home with them every day? She had also stated that you can use technology to call your parents if they live far away from you. This is a very debatable topic because these days, parents of adult children who would be around the age of 18 and 20, their parents would be more elderly, and elderly people nowadays have more trouble with technology as it advances. Technology these days can be harder to control if you aren't used to it. Elderly people prefer seeing their children face to face and talking with them, communicating with them, so that they could really understand what they're saying and don't have to worry about line problems, Wi-Fi problems, disconnections, and so on. Now, I'll be rebutting the second speaker's cases. He had stated that children will become more independent if they don't live with their parents. I disagree with this. These adult children do not just stay at home all day and do nothing. They have their own lives too. They would go to work, do their jobs, and come back home. Going to jobs will make them more independent, and schools teach kids how to be more independent these days too, by giving them tasks that evaluate their ability to do things. Home isn't the only place where you learn how to be independent. There are schools, universities, workplaces, and so on. The second speaker had also stated that children won't get to be responsible on their own if they live with their parents. I disagree. Living with parents could also help them be more responsible more than others. Parents could give the children chores and teach them about life problems. Imagine you going to university and you come back and forth from university to home. Your parents could teach you the downs and ups of being in university, and rather than using technology to call you, it would be such a complicated process. How about you just go home, ask advices from your parents, and learn to be more responsible from that? The second speaker had also stated that. Yes?
You said that we could just the children would just go home and ask the parents, what if the university or the school or the work that they go is far away from their house?
Why would you own a house if you're in university? You would still go back to your parents' house. And being in university dorms these days either ask the students to stay in dorms or stay outside. You don't get to go back and forth. I'm sorry I mentioned that. But still, going back and forth is an option. They wouldn't own a house, would they, unless they were really rich, which not a lot of people can do. I will continue with my speech. The second speaker had stated that if they live far away, if they live with their parents, it would be hard to go to their workplace and back home. Why would you say they live far? You could still live with your parents and your workplace could be close to your home. It doesn't conventionally have to be far. The second speaker's last and final point was that your parents will be tired to pay their bills if you live with them, including your own costs. But I disagree. If you live with your parents, you could actually help them pay their bills. Elderly people are nowadays, they could be retired and they could not be earning money if they're not working through the government. You, as a great child, you could live with them to reduce the costs of paying for your own house and your parents' house. Instead, you could live together and you could co-live and pay for your bills together. You could save on utilities, food costs, and electricity bills. With that, I end my rebuttal session. Now, I'll be rebuilding my team's cases. My Prime Minister's first point was enhancing intergenerational bond. Mandating adult children to live with their parents' help can strengthen the bond between different generations within a family. They could spend quality time together, share experience, and provide support to each other. Meanwhile, the second point was that mandating adult children to live with their parents could alleviate loneliness and social isolation. For example, many elderly people experience loneliness and social isolation. Her last and final point was sharing responsibilities. Living with their adult children can help distribute household responsibilities between generations. The elderly may need assistance with daily chores, healthcare, or transportation. Having adult children present can help them cater to these needs and ensure the overall well-being and safety of their parents. Moving on to the second speaker of the government team's points. His first case that he mentioned was that it gives you time to figure out what you want in life. When an adult is living with their parents, it gives you more time to figure out what you want to do with life. You could go to them for advice, and you could learn from their experiences, which they could share to you. This can benefit you in terms of improving the bond of the state relationship. The second point was about how co-living with your parents could save a big chunk of money. I repeat, could save a big chunk of money. We could save money from paying for the electricity bills, food costs, utilities, healthcare costs, and etc. Imagine your parents are retired, you live in your own home, and they live in theirs. You using your own electricity bill and them consuming their electricity, having to pay for both separate ones could be expensive. Instead, co-living could reduce the expense of paying the electricity bills. Then that's all for the rebutting and rebuilding the government cases from me. I rest my case. Thank you.
Time.
Okay. 816.
816. Okay. Thank you, timekeeper. With that, the third government has presented her case. Now I will call upon the third debater of the opposition to present her case, his case. You can go ahead. Thank you.
Am I clear?
Yes, you are.
Okay, thank you. I will start my speech in 3, 2, 1. As children, we are bound to grow up, and when we grow up and we go into adulthood, we are bound to live our own lives and go on a journey about growth and independence. Of course, our parents would support us in this journey, would they not? And this is why our opposition side will own victory in this today's debate. أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته to everyone in this beautiful house. Today, I'll do two obligations, which is first to rebut all the cases that has been given from the government side, as well as reaffirm and strengthen other arguments that's been given by our side. Rebutting the first argument has been given, which is strengthening the bonds between generations. The first Prime Minister has said that by adult children living with their parents, they get to strengthen their bonds with their parents, which improves overall well-being. Yes, but can't you just do that even without living with your parents? You could do that through technology. And even if your parents don't know technology, you can introduce that technology with them. You're living in a modern world. Of course, they're going to know technology at some point. The second argument that's been given is sharing responsibilities. By sharing responsibilities, adult children can help their parents to go somewhere or get things for them, or basically to assist them when they need it. And it takes off the burden from their parents. However, by sharing responsibilities, this wouldn't give the children a more progressed growth of experience or independence. Meaning, because they share the responsibility with their parents, they become more dependable with their parents by sharing a type of burden with them. And also, by taking off the burden from the parents, doesn't it burden their parents even more? Since their children are being dependable with their parents, right? They're sharing responsibilities. So at one point of time, the adult children are going to be used to this sharing responsibilities type of thing, and then would be more dependent on the parents to cover them, like cover with payment and things. Yes?
Are you saying that these children will burden their parents if they stay by the sides?
No, I didn't say that by staying by their sides it would burden the children. It would burden the parents. I'm saying that because the adult children have needs too, and when they do have needs, when they need to pay things or something, they would most likely depend on their parents. Sure, they have their own money, but they could also use their parents' money if the payment, let's just say, is not enough for their money. That is a type of burden as well. Okay, now for rebutting the third argument, they say that it gives you more time to think about your life. Why can't you just do this when you're in the process of your life? Why can't you do this before you've entered adulthood? When you're in middle school, when you're in elementary school, parents should have taught their children about their future, at least give us conceptual idea about what they want to be. Isn't that a parent's job for their children? To ready their children for the future? Okay, now, after rebutting all the arguments, I will now strengthen our arguments. Our first argument is restrict freedom. Adult children have their own responsibilities and privacy in their life. If they live with their parents, they don't really get much of a fully freed life to live in. So the children will be shackled of their lives, and let's just be realistic. Don't parents already at least need to be mature about this loneliness or social isolation thing? Like I said, children, they could just interact with their parents and they could visit them. They don't necessarily need to live with them. The second argument to be given is restricts independence for the adult children, meaning that adult children will get used with their parents covering for them because, like I said, sharing responsibilities. Living with their parents would make the adult children use with the help of their parents, and therefore this actually hinders their capability of being independent and responsible with their own lives. The third argument that's being given is that what's the third argument? I'm sorry. The third argument that's being given is that then although children living with their parents would burden both parties, which is both the parent and the children. We experience change constantly in our lives. Children will grow up as adults and would eventually have their own responsibilities, like I said. But now, what if the adult children they have work and that work is somewhere far? They would have to go to their work and also go to to assist to accompany their parents every day, and that burdens the children. And like I said, it would burden the parent also, because the parent would be more of a source for the children because they share responsibilities. The child will get used with their parents being depending on their parents. Before I end my speech, I would like to say, parents need, as a parent, they need to prioritize their children's well-being instead of themselves. It is a parent's job. It is what parents should do. So even if they will suffer loneliness or social isolation, their children could visit them. Their children could interact with them, and it is a parent's job to put their child first. It is what parents do. I would also like to restate our case line, which is this house would not mandate adult children with their parents as it would deprive human rights or their children. Okay. Thank you for listening. I end my speech and back to oppose. Thank you.
6 minutes, 17 seconds. 17, 17.
Yeah, 17. Okay. Thank you very much. We have now heard the contention from both the government and the opposition teams. This marks the end of the primary speeches. Now both teams will be given 3 minutes to prepare for their reply speech. Timekeeper, if we are ready, we can start the preparation time. Okay?
3 minutes, yeah? Okay, start
Yeah,
from
3
now.
minutes. Okay, your
Start
time
from now.
starts now.
Okay, the end of 3 minutes.
Three minutes has ended.
Yep, ended.
Okay. Thank you very much, Madam Timekeeper. And now we have come to the reply speeches. I will call upon the opposition to present their reply speech. With that, Tra, you're on to go.
Okay, is my voice clear?
Good.
Okay. I will start in 3, 2, 1. Thank you again, I beg to the Miss Speaker. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh and very good evening, I bid to everyone in this parliament today. I feel great honored as we have the opportunity to meet again in the reply speech arena as the second speaker for the government from the opposition delegation. I'm responsive to summarize all rebuttal and all arguments given by opposition side and recap all the case as a representative from the government delegation. I will ensure that opposition team will win this parliament today by making sure that today debate motion entitled "This How Would Mandate Elder Children to Live with Their Parents to Combat Loneliness and Social Isolation Among the Elderly Population" is rejected 100%, no compromise. So ladies and gentlemen, now I will briefly rebut the first argument given by government representative as mentioned by opposition by the government representative. Their first argument of this mention. Without further ado, let me briefly rebut their first argument. In the first argument, strengthen the bonds between the generation, share the experience and create connection and improve overall well-being. But I rebut, they could do this without having to live with their parents. And the second argument came from our opposition side, which is sharing responsibilities, and that can help parents to go somewhere or getting the things for them and takes off burdens from parents. But I disagree because it will not give the other children a more progressive growth of independence for them, and or it would add burdening at all. And the third argument came from opposition government team, which is give you more time to think about your life and can save your money, provide opportunities to learn and inherit culture's traditional values. But I still not disagree because what about your childhood? You can learn them when you're still little, and this is why team opposition should win because our first argument, which is restrict freedom. Adult children have their own responsibilities and privacy in life, and they won't have a fully free life to live in. And the adult children feel shackled living with their parents. Their parents already experienced, or at least should be mature about this. And second argument of opposition, which is restrict independence for the adult children, which is adult children would get used to their parents covering for them, and living with their parents would make their adult children unused, and they offer irritation to make adults like decision and responsibility. And lastly, the third argument, the burden to both parties. Which is the long hours to drive to workplace and do this every time, and will impact on financial issues like payment. Don't all people like to peace and quiet? So parents priority their own well-being instead of their children. It's a parent job to ensure the happiness of their children. So, and this is why the opposition team is fighting a winning battle against the government side. So, I raise my case and back to the process. I raise my case and thank you.
Okay, 3 minutes, 46 seconds.
Seconds. Thank you, Putra. And now I call upon the government to present their reply speech. With that, Abdul Qayyum. You can start.
Am I audible?
Yes, you are.
Okay. I will start in 3, 2, 1. Okay. Thank you, second speaker from the opposition team. Good afternoon. I would like to wish to the honorable educators, precise timekeepers, fellow member of the government, member of the opposition, and member of the floor. Today, we are here to debate on an interesting motion that is, this house will mandate adult children to live with their parents to combat loneliness and social isolation among the elderly population. And this is my reply speech. So, as the opposition team say, the child can just visit their parents, but this has a major drawback because what if you don't have a transportation? Taking a public transportation sometimes can be full. Sometimes the transportation can be full, or even if it's not, even if you got the chance to ride it, it will take a lot of time and money. The same for online communication. What if you doesn't have any internet connection? We say adult children should live with their parents because the government believe that it is more easier for the parent to manage their child in terms of health, money, and many more. This is a major benefit to both parties because this can save a bunch of money and parents can also take care of their child. The conclusion is adult children should live with their parents as there's countless benefit from it. We children can thanks to their parents need and stay by their side just as they did when they were when we were little. And that is all. I stop my speech here. Thank you.
1 minute 48 seconds.
Okay. Sorry, I didn't realize I was unmuted. With that, we have come to the end of the debate, but we will now wait while the adjudicators finalize their scores. After a few minutes, you will be called back into the room. So now you can actually, once the adjudicators have confirmed their scores, you will be called back into the room to give you your results and to give you the oral adjudication.
attention to BB test group 17. Please re-enter the breakout room. Thank you.
you.
I'm still trying to adjust my camera.
Thank you.